I, Maria, 37F, cheated on my husband Derik, 40M. Derik is a laid-back guy. He is kind and helps out everyone when he can. Derik works as a mechanic. He makes good money, but we aren't rich and Derik dislikes flaunting his money. He dresses casually all the time unless he is going to see his family or to a family gathering. His family is loaded. I met Derik at the same place he works today. I was 28 and Derik had no interest in me other than to know the problems with my car. It took a while to get my car back, and during that time I found out Derik's family was loaded. I started to pursue him relentlessly, till it became a running joke at his shop. Derik and I became good friends because of this. Took me a year, but we eventually got together. I was happy. I thought my life would get better and I would be accepted quickly. Newsflash, I was wrong. A few years into dating, I realized Derik didn't accept money from his family, and that he didn't want to be known because of his parents. After a year of dating, I moved into his place, and he introduced me to his family. They did not like me, but they didn't treat me poorly. Derik and I got married when I was 30. I thought things would change with him and that they would accept me. So I told Derik I wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. He did not object. He just said, "Do what makes you happy." I stayed a housewife until half a year ago. The time I stayed home, Derik's family didn't invite me into their circle, and his friends kept me at a distance. I got bored of waiting around and wanted to blow some money, so I went out. That's when I met Leon, 45M. He was in an expensive suit and looked handsome. He started a conversation with me and immediately I was drawn to him. We chatted until late and exchanged numbers before parting ways. When I got home, Derik was asleep. The next day he didn't ask any questions, which pissed me off. Leon and I chatted every day. It was harmless at the beginning, but then we started to joke about Derik and how much of a loser he is. After some time, Leon offered me a job to be his assistant and I accepted. I told Derik over dinner, and when he asked why all of a sudden I blew up at him, it ended our talk on a bad note. I didn't realize it, but Derik's kisses got fewer and he didn't ask me about work or anything else. Leon and I got closer. He was everything Derik wasn't. He invited me to his friend group and we did couple things. Eventually we started to sleep together. I felt so alive. Derik had no idea, or so I thought. We laughed at the fact he didn't know, and it was liberating. Things hit the fan when I took Derik to an office party. He wore a nice suit, but it wasn't expensive. The suit did not bother me at first, but when we got in front of Leon, I was embarrassed to be seen with Derik. I left Derik's side and sat at the bar. I drank heavily till I got tipsy. Derik tried to take care of me and get me to drink water. He wanted to leave, which upset me. I started to make jokes about how weak he was and other things. I don't think I can repeat here. Derik looked at me shocked, then his face went emotionless. He left without saying another word. Leon just watched from the other side of the bar and everyone else looked at me with disgust. Derik's family had a gathering the next day. I felt so out of place. They didn't welcome me or even make conversation like they used to do. When we got home, Derik took a shower, then headed straight to bed. That's when I noticed Derik was no longer in our marriage. The Monday I went to work, it felt like I was unwanted. Everyone was looking at me weirdly. Before I could sit down, Leon called me to his office. He told me to take some time off. I tried to question him, but he just told me to not make things worse. When I got home, there was a note on the fridge. "I know what you have been up to," it said. My stomach dropped. I ran to the bedroom. All his things were gone. I tried calling him, but no answer. I cried for a few minutes, then decided to go to his parents' place. When I showed up, his mother told me to not show my face again. I felt so used and dirty walking back to the car Derik bought me. The silence in the house was deafening. It wasn't the usual quiet of a sleeping Derik or him working in the garage. This was a hollow, echoing silence, the kind that settles after a storm has ripped through a place, leaving only wreckage. I stared at the note, the stark, simple words, "I know what you have been up to," burning into my retinas. My hand trembled, the paper crinkling in my grasp. I'd always thought that Derik was predictable and reliable, but this note, this empty house, the chilling absence, it painted a different picture, a picture of a man I didn't know at all. The realization hit me like a physical blow, a wave of nausea washing over me. My mind raced, replaying every interaction, every stolen glance, every whispered joke with Leon. Had Derik known all along? Has he been watching, silently observing my descent into this mess? The thought was unbearable. It made me feel small, exposed, utterly foolish. I remembered the night of the office party. The way the cheap fabric of Derik's suit had suddenly seemed inadequate, so utterly unlike the tailored perfection of Leon's attire. The alcohol had loosened my tongue, and the words had tumbled out, cruel and biting, aimed directly at Derik's heart. I'd wanted to hurt him, to diminish him, to prove to myself and to everyone else that I was better than this life, better than him. Now, the memory of his quiet departure, his shoulders slumped, his face a mask of hurt and resignation, filled me with a sickening wave of shame. I'd mistaken his kindness for weakness, his patience for indifference. How wrong I'd been. The visit to his parents' house was a blur of desperation and humiliation. His mother, her face etched with disappointment and anger, had slammed the door in my face, her words echoing in the quiet street. "Don't you dare show your face here again." It was as if I'd been erased, expunged from their lives, deemed unworthy of even a shred of their consideration. I returned to the empty house, the silence heavier than before. I sank onto the couch, the soft cushions mocking me with their comfort. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger, fear, and a deep, gnawing loneliness. I was angry at Derik for leaving, for not confronting me, for simply vanishing. I was angry at Leon for discarding me like a used toy. I was angry at myself for being so blind, so utterly consumed by my own selfish desires. The days that followed were a torturous cycle of self-loathing and desperate attempts to reach Derik. I called his phone repeatedly, leaving pleading messages that went unanswered. I sent emails begging for forgiveness, for a chance to explain, but received no response. I even went to the mechanic shop, but his colleagues just looked at me with pity and turned away. Then I got a notice saying I had 30 days to leave. I had forgotten the house was a gift from his parents when we got married. While I struggled to find a place, I got divorce papers. My whole world crashed. He really wasn't coming back. I moved to a small apartment I could barely afford because Leon fired me for indecent behavior. I didn't see Derik at all during the divorce, and I got nothing apart from a letter. "I forgive you," nothing else. At home I found myself thinking about it all. I started to see things differently. The life I had with Derik, the quiet evenings, the shared meals, the simple acts of kindness. They suddenly seemed precious, irreplaceable. I realized that what I had mistaken for boredom was contentment. What I had perceived as indifference was unwavering love. I remembered the day we met, how he patiently explained the intricacies of my car's engine, his hands greasy but gentle. I remembered the year it took for us to get together, his hesitant smile, and the way he'd blushed when I finally kissed him. I remembered the day he proposed, the simple, heartfelt words, the way his eyes shone with happiness. All those memories now seemed like a distant dream, a life I had carelessly thrown away. I had been so focused on the glitz and glamour of Leon's world that I had completely lost sight of what truly mattered. The loneliness was a constant ache, a hollow space inside me that nothing could fill. I missed Derik's quiet presence, his gentle humor, and his unwavering support. I missed the way he'd always been there, a solid, dependable anchor in my life. One evening, I found myself driving to the park where we'd had our first date. I sat on the bench watching the sunset. I remembered how nervous I'd been, how Derik had held my hand, reassuring me with his calm presence. As the last rays of sunlight faded, I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face. I realized that I hadn't just lost Derik, I had lost myself. I had traded my integrity and my happiness for a fleeting illusion of excitement and acceptance. Now I was left with nothing but the bitter taste of regret and the crushing weight of my own mistakes. I knew that I had no right to expect forgiveness, but I couldn't bear the thought of living without Derik in my life. I decided that I would find him, that I would tell him how sorry I was, how much I loved him, and that I would spend the rest of my life trying to earn back his trust. Even if he never forgave me, I owed him that much. I owed him the truth, and I owed myself the chance to try and fix the wreckage I had created. The journey ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of hope. I had made a terrible mistake, but I was determined to learn from it, to become a better person, to try and rebuild the life I had so carelessly destroyed.